June 19, 2025, will be etched into the memory of millions, a day when nature's wrath showed no mercy. In the early morning hours, Hurricane Erick slammed into Mexico's Pacific coastline with a terrifying roar. Though officially a high-end Category 3 at landfall, Erick had already revealed its monstrous strength while over open waters, with winds peaking over 130 miles per hour and gusts that tore past 155 miles per hour. In mere minutes, neighborhoods turned into battlegrounds against the elements. Roofs ripped from homes like leaves in the wind, power lines snapped like twigs, and streets transformed into violent rivers, swallowing cars, trees, and everything in their path. More than 277,000 households were plunged into darkness. Entire communities were cut off from the rest of the country. In low-lying towns, the floodwaters surged over a foot high, 30 centimeters of despair that crept into homes, shops, and schools. For many, there was no time to prepare, no time to flee. The sound of children crying, the wailing of sirens, and the relentless howl of the wind blended into a nightmarish symphony. As the storm moved inland, it weakened, but the torrential rain did not stop. In just 2 days, some areas recorded over 20 inches of rain. That's more than what they usually receive in an entire season. Major roads that once connected cities like Acapulco and Zihuatanejo were buried beneath landslides. Thousands were left stranded with no way to get help in or out. Emergency crews worked around the clock to reopen access, but the sheer scale of the destruction was overwhelming. In Puerto Escondido, a coastal town known for its fishing industry, the storm obliterated the fishing infrastructure, boats shattered, docks torn apart. For families relying on the sea for their survival, this was more than just a storm. It was the loss of a livelihood, a legacy. With over 50,000 people forced to evacuate, nearly 2,000 shelters were established. In these crowded, makeshift sanctuaries, strangers became family, united by shared grief and a desperate hope for recovery. But the disaster didn't stop at Mexico's borders. Guatemala was struck next, with heavy rains triggering landslides that claimed 16 lives and injured dozens more. 3 individuals remain missing, their families clinging to prayers. In Honduras, homes crumbled and at least 1 life was lost. And in El Salvador, while no deaths were reported, 70% of crops in certain areas were destroyed, a silent tragedy that will echo through food shortages and hunger. So, what gave Hurricane Erick such deadly power? Meteorologists point to an alarming combination: abnormally warm ocean waters, measuring over 30 degrees Celsius (86 degrees Fahrenheit), gave Erick the fuel it needed to grow rapidly, evolving from a tropical depression to a major hurricane in less than 24 hours. This kind of rapid intensification used to be rare. Now, it's becoming all too familiar. Climate scientists say shifting global patterns, including El Niño cycles and global warming, are increasing the frequency and intensity of these storms. And with each new season, vulnerable communities have less and less time to prepare. We often hear hurricanes measured by their category. Erick reached Category 4 intensity over open waters but made landfall as a Category 3. But this number, based solely on wind speed, doesn't tell the full story. What it doesn't show is the unforgiving rainfall, the devastating floods, and the silent killer, landslides. In Erick's case, it was the water, not just the wind, that caused the most destruction. People didn't drown because they were near the ocean. They drowned in their homes, in their streets, trapped in rising floodwaters with nowhere to go. In the chaos, a different kind of force emerged, one of courage, unity, and tireless service. More than 34,000 emergency personnel were deployed. Soldiers, firefighters, doctors, and volunteers worked shoulder to shoulder, rescuing stranded residents, clearing roads, and delivering food and clean water. Helicopters flew into areas where roads no longer existed. Boats sailed into flooded neighborhoods to pull families from rooftops. And even in the hardest-hit areas, people refused to give in. The people of Mexico showed the world what it means to be resilient. Neighbors carried the elderly through waist-high water. Children shared what little food they had. Strangers handed out blankets, knowing someone else needed them more. One mother, clutching her baby in a shelter, said through tears, "We lost everything, our home, our car, everything, but I still have my child. We are alive. That's what matters." The heartbreak is real, but so is the hope. As the skies cleared, the long road to recovery began. Mexico's National Civil Protection Agency launched massive cleanup and rebuilding operations. Restoring power, clearing debris, and reopening infrastructure became top priorities. International aid agencies stepped in to support Central America, providing medical care, food supplies, and temporary housing. Efforts are now underway to rebuild stronger, to create homes and roads that can withstand future storms, to train communities in emergency preparedness, and to invest in early warning systems that can save lives. This wasn't just a natural disaster. It was a human tragedy. It was a wake-up call. As the planet warms, storms like Erick are becoming stronger, faster, and harder to predict. We can no longer treat them as once-in-a-decade events. We must adapt. We must prepare. And most importantly, we must support one another when the unthinkable happens. Because it's not about how strong the storm is, it's about how strong we are in the face of it. To those who lost loved ones, homes, and hope, our hearts are with you. To the first responders, neighbors, and unsung heroes, we see you. And to everyone watching, stay aware, stay prepared, and never underestimate the power of unity in the face of disaster. Thank you for watching.